Keith had you, Wallace. I'm not long on
It's
that.
definitely me and Keith.
Yeah,
I can't remember the third. Is it?
it's Wallace. Wallace is
Wallace.
third.
Okay.
The telepharmacy committee is Andy, Keith, and Wallace.
So the three of you, would you like me, maybe what I can do is send out some possible dates here, February, this month and early in March. See if we can maybe land on a date, try to firm up a recommendation on RMOE with, Ashley, what do you think? Maybe with an expectation to present a recommendation to the board at the April meeting. Does that seem?
I think that would be great.
Andy, Keith, Wallace, y'all think that? Yeah, I'm seeing.
Yeah, it sounds
Yep.
great.
Thumbs up.
Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me jot down a note real quick, Ashley. All right, got it. All right, the last item that I will be much of a direct part of, meeting schedules and formats. So Wallace, I think you'll remember this, and Bill, I know you were on the board at the time. Going back to that 2015 NABP report, NABP had recommended that we consider not meeting every month, and I've reproduced in your memo the reasons for that, and I think there are some good reasons in there to maybe thinking about having a full board meeting, not necessarily every month. And what NABP had recommended that we consider was maybe thinking about an every other month full board meeting schedule. And then in the months in between, we would still have the regular board meeting day reserved so that committees could meet. We wouldn't have to play this game about trying to schedule committees and find times. There would be times for committees. We could also potentially have pre-hearing conferences. Instead of every month, we would have a broader pre-hearing conference day on those in-between months as well, which I think has the virtue of it would give us a little more breathing room on settling out the pre-hearing conference recommendation, so that we don't have a pre-hearing conference and then it's on the docket the next day. Anyway, there's some advantages, I think. So I never realized this is kind of a big deal. The boards met 10 months of the year for probably since God wore short pants. But I think there is something to think about whether full board every other month, whether say those are even months or odd months or whatever, and then in between, we would consider having that time reserved for committee work and pre-hearing conferences and the like. In 2015, we talked about it. Really didn't go anywhere, and for a variety of reasons. But I thought that given the current composition of the board, and as today evidences, this is a board that seems much more inclined to doing committee work, to get together and dig deeper into issues and bring things back. I just thought it was worth discussing again. So let me stop and put that out there on the table for y'all.
Jay, the first thing I did was start thinking about the months, and you said even, but if you do odd, you avoid the December month, and
Yep.
you avoid August. So if you did 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, then you get to keep those two traditional months that we didn't meet anyway.
Yeah.
So you're really just getting rid of what? How many more meetings? 1, 2, 3, 4 more meetings. And
Right.
you replace those 4 meetings with, as you said, more committee work, obviously, NABP meetings, District 3 meetings, if anybody goes to Maltagon. I mean, I think it's a good idea, I guess is what I'm getting at.
And We created 4 new committees today that we haven't assigned people to. So just let's point that out as well. And then that adds to the other 5 committees that we have, 5, 6 committees that we have.
Can I play
Yeah,
devil's advocate for just a sec?
Please, Keith, this is a multifaceted issue, to be sure.
Well, my only concern, would be, are we going to hold any business up that might, like say, like a PHC, would we hold somebody up on that possibly where they could, if they're ready to come back to practice, say if they came through PHP, I just want to make sure we don't hold anything up for anybody that unnecessarily.
Yeah, for permits, definitely not. And with what appears to be enthusiasm for even eliminating the in-person permit meeting, that process is going to be, as it is now, super efficient. In terms of PHC, it's a fair question. It's absolutely a fair point, Keith. And I guess in some cases we would, in some cases we wouldn't. I mean, these days with the state of our docket, we're really only having PHCs about every 2 months now anyway. Now, again, dockets ebb and flow, and so there could become a time. That's what I would say is I think in the main, the answer is no. We would not be holding anybody up who's looking for practice. I would also say we're not straitjacketing ourselves, as with all things. If we had, an emergency or a compelling reason that we needed to have a pre-hearing conference or something else outside of the usual rotation, there's certainly no reason that we couldn't do that. So it's a great question, Keith.
Wallace, Bill, Michelle, what are your thoughts?
I don't have a problem in that. The model that you're talking about is I'm on the community college board down here, the College of Albemarle, and that's exactly what we do. Is we have our regular board meetings every other month, and it's not on the same day, but that's neither here nor there. But the second month is reserved for the committees. There's 3 standing committees, and so all 3 committees meet during that following month, and or that middle month, and it works well. I don't see that there's any reason that we couldn't do it and still be just productive. And I think that none of that would preclude that if there was an issue, especially since we've got this technology now, once we get back into having regular board meetings, in-person board meetings, and we've got this technology could surely be used on that other month on regular board day that you're doing committee work, and whoever's not in Chapel Hill for a committee or whatever could participate through this format, in my opinion.
I totally agree with that, Wallace. I mean, if there's a silver lining to what COVID has forced upon us in terms of meeting, that Antoine has been able to bring us along with developing this remote capability, I think, independently of whether we go to every other month or still meet every month, that's going to make committee work so much easier for everybody concerned.
Bill and Michelle? Bill, I think you might be muted.
I concur with what Wallace said, what everybody's saying. I agree.
I'm a little conflicted. I mean, especially when we were meeting face to face, I look forward to the meetings. But from a practical standpoint, what's being proposed certainly just makes for more efficiency, I think, especially at the staff level.
What if we think about this? If we want to give it a try, why don't we think about looking toward the fall, that we continue to have our regular monthly meetings between now and July, which will give us an opportunity to think through this some more, figure out how we might want to do it, and then hopefully come September, when our meeting year sort of starts after the August break, hopefully we're going to all be vaccinated and in a position to come back and meet in person. And it strikes me that that might be the time to give this a try, is to try the odd month schedule beginning in September. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. We can adjust, but I think that might be a time to do it.
So we would skip August, we'd skip December. No, let's see, we'd meet in September, skip October, meet in November, skip December, right?
Yeah, I think, well, one decision we'd have to make is, do we want to still keep August and December as clear months, that there wouldn't be a meeting of any sort? So one possibility would be of the 10 other months. I think Andy stated it pretty well. We'd have a full board meeting January, March, May, July, September, and November. And then we would have reserved time for committee and PHCs and other things in February, April, June, and October. And again,
I don't think we'd miss it. Andy, jump up and write all that on that blackboard behind you, please.
Okay.
How about this? How about, since there's seems like there's some general, although some reserved in some cases, which is entirely appropriate. Why don't I work on that we start thinking about, we might aim toward trying this in the fall. In the meantime, I can work on thinking about the months and what we would do and sort of come up with a more concrete proposal for you guys to take a look at this spring. And Clint was trying to say something and I kept getting in his way.
Well, there's no need for me to say it because I'll just say it as you're coming up with the schedule.
I've got it. Okay.
Oh, Wallace, I think you're on mute.
Okay, am I back?
Yes.
Yep, you're back.
Okay. What I was going to say is I concur with Bill that, I remember from my first experience being on the board, I did look forward to the opportunities to get together. I mean, it was really very valuable. And y'all have heard me say this before. It was very valuable in developing relationships. And, and I've always said that good governance is rooted in relationships and not necessarily just the business at hand. And so you compromise that a little bit. And I would, have, some concern about that, because if I look at COA are the relationships that are developed within that board the same as the relationships that we had when I was on the pharmacy board before. So, I mean, I think Bill hits on a good point that I think my comments that can the work of the board be accomplished in some kind of format like this? I really believe it could, and we wouldn't miss a lick, and it really would help Jay and staff, because they wouldn't have to be preparing for a board meeting every month. I mean, because those things come around mighty quickly. I remember preparing for pharmacy and therapeutics committees. They come around very quickly. And so it could be done, but I do think that the other piece that you miss is really, the developing the relationships and that kind of stuff. So I don't know what that's got to do with anything, but that's just my, just a thought I had.
Well, I hope we can get back to in-person meetings soon. I mean, that would be amazing, because,
Amen.
you do miss a lot with that. So hopefully that can come soon. So Jay, it sounds like you're going to put some stuff together that a decision is not going to be made today, but we continue to explore it.
Right. I wanted a sense of the room, which very helpfully and clearly got today. So that allowed me to start thinking more about some specifics, and we'll keep talking about it and come up with a proposal.
So board members going off, their last meeting would be in March instead of April. New board members, their first meeting would be in March. That's no different. Then they
new board members' first meeting would be in May.
Yes.
Just like is true now.
Right.
For an outgoing board member, their last, if we did this, but again, we can play with the schedule, but if it was the odd even, then the outgoing board member's last one would be in March, at the end of March.
Okay. So
although the outgoing board member might still participate in committees or pre-hearing conferences in April, because they would still be on the board.
I get it. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's helpful. That gives me what I need to start dotting some I's and crossing some T's and get some more concrete things to think about it. So thank you for the open mind on that, and we'll see what we come up with. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, that don't worry about. I appreciate the thoughtfulness about staff. It is candidly, it's a challenge to have a board meeting, and about a week later, you got to turn right back in to start planning for a meeting. But that absolutely should not be the overriding concern here. I think the concern to me is, if we do this, it allows us more of an opportunity to use committee work to do more deep dive policy thinking and advice. If it accomplishes that I think is important and helpful. So we'll figure it out. All right. So the last item on the agenda, and Rhonda is on board, is discussion of a more formal policy and process for evaluation of the executive director. And so even though this is a public meeting, I want you guys to be completely comfortable discussing that fully and candidly. So I'm going to stay on this call just long enough for Rhonda to come on, and if anybody's got a question for me, but then I'm going to log out.
Well, Jay, before you do that, do we need to work on some of these committees before you check out?
Yes, we sure do. So,
okay. So the first committee that I have is, let's see, I guess a committee to decide about the in-person permit meetings and talk about kind of how we want to do that.
Correct.
And I think Keith and I had volunteered to do that, but who else? Is there anybody else that has a burning passion to do that?
It's a very passionate subject.
These are not standing committees, right? They're just ad hocs.
Yeah, these would be ad hocs.
Keith, what? I think you were on mute and you said something.
I said, I think that burning desire just might be lunch.
Andy,
So,
you had, go ahead.
It's basically, how many people do we want on each committee? I can jump in with y'all, but if we can handle these things with 2 people, that's fine too. Whatever y'all want to do.
For what it's worth, I think you're better to have 2-person committees, because that allows you guys to spread the expertise and effort across. If we have 3, we're sort of bumping up against each other. It's going to make it, and as a practical matter, it's going to make it hard for me to get committee meetings scheduled if
Ashley, can you rattle off the list?
Yeah, so right now what we have on committees, let me get to my notes here for that. The budget and finance is myself and Michelle. The opioid committee, which honestly we haven't met, is Ashley, Keith, and Andy.
Yeah, we don't really have anything going on there,
right?
Or need to right now.
Right, and the CPP advisory committee is Bill, with Wallace training to be the liaison for that. The telepharmacy committee is Andy, Keith, and Wallace. The DME committee is Bill and Ashley. A PHP.
That's a really busy committee.
Yeah. PHP is Bill and Andy for that.
Which one? Oh,
NCPR, PHP.
Yeah. Yes. So that's the current committees that we have now. Well, let's include
and those have been standing committees, obviously. So. Yeah.
Did I go through that too fast?
Okay.
So if Keith and I serve on the pharmacy manager in-person permit meeting committee, we still have the Haywood Fund committee.
And I know Andy's asked to have a pin put in there for him.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea, as long as we make sure we're spreading this around so everybody's kind of doing an equal amount of stuff, but maybe me and Bill should do that since we're both on the board of directors for NCPHP.
I agree with you on that. As long as everybody else is good with that, I would agree that that's a great idea.
Okay.
And then the limited service permit, we want to keep Wallace and Bill on that committee. I didn't mention that, but that's kind of an ad hoc committee that we're working on.
Right, and it's already composed, so we'll see that one through to conclusion.
And so the only last one is the pharmacy intern committee.
Right, and that would leave.
I'm going to jump out and volunteer for that because I might be able to get some helpful insight from the school side. That would be helpful.
Okay. Anybody else want to join that committee?
And I don't mind to serve if.
Well, I want to make if we spread around. I want to make sure Wallace and Michelle haven't been assigned to any of the ad hoc committees that are coming out of the retreat.
I will gladly step aside on that.
Wallace is on LSP.
Oh yeah, right. That's right. That's right. Duh.
I don't want to remove someone from it, but I would like to do the one that Andy and Bill are doing, the fund.
The Haywood Fund. The Haywood Fund. I will, Ashley, for what it's worth, I think having a public member's input on that would be really, and yes, that's 3, but that's fine. That's fine.
So really, that's perfect, Michelle. Thank you. So really, we only need one more person for the pharmacy intern committee. Keith has volunteered to do that. Wallace, are you good with that?
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm good, but I'm good either way.
Is everybody good with Keith being on that committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hearing yes from everybody.
Yep. So let me read my notes, Ashley, to make sure they track with yours. Of the new committees coming out of the retreat today, there are 3. The committee to consider the in-person permit meeting changes, and I'll also call pharmacist manager education programs. That's Keith and Ashley. The Haywood Fund Committee be Andy, Bill, and Michelle. The intern registration program committee will be Andy and Keith. And then, of course, the limited service permit, which is still coming out of that, will be Wallace and Bill. And I'll be getting back in touch with Keith, Andy, and Wallace for the telepharmacy committee to plan on a recommendation there.
I think that sounds perfect. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah,
all right, we get to work.
What's going on here? Upstairs they're ripping out of bathrooms. I can't really hear what.
I thought you'd had a big burrito for lunch there, Wallace, and that's what was going on. But yeah, you rip out your bathroom there, Wallace. Is that what the kids are
yeah,
called?
right. Yeah. Anyway, the committees that came out of today, what was that? You remind me what we were talking about. I couldn't hear that last part when you were going over them, Jay and Ashley. Which.
Yeah, you want me to restate them one more time?
Yeah, I apologize. I just couldn't. I didn't hear.
All right. So committee on permit meeting and pharmacist manager education is Keith and Ashley. The Haywood Fund Committee, Andy, Bill, and Michelle. The intern registration system committee, Andy. Damn, Wallace. Take some gas X or something, man.
Yeah.
Intern registration, Andy and Keith. Limited service permit committee, of course, Wallace, will continue to be you and Bill as we bring that one to conclusion. And then I'll be in touch with the telepharmacy committee, which is Wallace, Keith, and Andy, to get a meeting scheduled on the recommendations on RMOE.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
So with that, then, Rhonda, I know you're on. I will turn you over to Rhonda's most capable hands to work through this issue. I'm going to log off. If you need me, if anybody needs me, Ashley, if you need me, just text me.
Okay, Clint, I think needs to say something.
Yep, sorry.
Well, this was going to be a legal introduction to what Rhonda was saying. So if somebody's got something else for Jay.
I just have a point of order. I know we're supposed to do this in an open forum for public, involvement, but if we're going to be talking about human resources type issues like evaluating our executive director, shouldn't that be private?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Clint's going to talk to you about process versus actual evaluation. So I jump off and get to that.
Jay's gone, and Jay does not need to go, but
But I just don't want you guys to feel like you can't discuss a process candidly because
Personally,
right
I'm the
here.
one that brought this up, put it on the table. I'm happy for you to be here. I don't feel compelled to, I mean, I'm not going to say anything or not say anything that would be
I know.
affected by your presence.
It's as much me too. I will feel more comfortable personally if you guys have a good discussion. And Rhonda and I have talked too. So
Okay.
Rhonda is the expert on this stuff. I trust her judgment implicitly.
And really today, what we're doing is just laying out a timeline. So
Right.
Sure, we have your forwarding address.
You got it.
Jay, we love you. You know that, right? We
Yes,
all love you, and we appreciate everything you're doing.
listen, I have never, ever in this job felt anything other than appreciated and supported. And there are very few people I know that can.
I remember a time where you didn't feel appreciated.
Well, that was one spectacular exception to the general rule. So I'll turn it over to Rhonda. But Ashley, if you need me for anything, just text me. I'm gonna be sitting right here and I can log back on.
Perfect. Thank you, Jay.
Guys,
for
let
everything
me say
today.
this: as weird as an online retreat is, Bill Wallace, I think y'all would probably say we got more substantive, in-depth discussion done today than any other retreat I remember having since I've been on the board. So.
Yeah, I don't know if we lost any weight or ate less, but we took that less time out to eat. I know that.
But I appreciate the hell out of y'all for the discussion and the guidance and the insights today. This is good stuff, man. This is the good policy stuff. So thank you for that.
I think it was a good meeting too.
Get me if you need me, and I'll be in touch.
Thank you, Jay.
Oh, thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
And what I was going to say as the introduction is by way of answering Andy's question is if you're talking about HR processes, then those discussions need to be in open session, and that's what Rhonda is planning to discuss. If you have any airing of grievances about Jay's performance or contrary in the unlikely event that you have some praise for Jay, then that would be done at a closed session in another format. So save all those for later, and Rhonda will talk about the process for doing just that.
How are y'all doing? I know it's a long day.
Good, thank you.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Are we supposed to, like, is this closed session thing? Okay.
No, this is all open, and we're just going to talk in generalities today. So Michelle and Ashley and I have established a couple things for the process for Jay's evaluation, and that is that Ashley, Michelle, and I will be the ones that are in charge of the process. So it's basically me as the Director of Finance and Human Resources, as well as the Finance Committee. So April 1st, and I'll go through the timeline with you here shortly, but these two ladies will be given the evaluation form. They will complete the form together, review that with you all as the full board. Then there will be time for Jay to have, then they will review the form with Jay after all the comments have been included and reviewed. He will have time for comments or questions. Then it will be discussed amongst you all to move forward. And then if everyone agrees, his bonus will be given during, I think, the June payroll. So this is a process between April 1st and the end of June. So what we did was establish a timeline that the Finance Committee will start working. Again, that will start April 1st. So what I'll do is create the form, send it to them for review before that time, and then they'll start working on putting it all together April 1st.
And Rhonda, may I add something? You know, we talked a lot about this evaluation, and I think Rhonda also talked to Jay about this. I think this is a much needed process because I think for everybody, it makes it consistent every year for Jay that we have a process in place, because really his His is the only one that we don't have a process for.
Right.
So he was comfortable with that. We were comfortable with that. And I hope you guys will be with that too, because I think it's just going to make it much more consistent across the board for years to follow.
And I'm collaborating with other executives at licensing boards, like the medical board, the nursing board, to make sure that we're all kind of in line. So we're not grabbing things out of thin air. You know, we have a process, and, you know, we're all following kind of a similar path for their person is a CEO, executive director, same thing.
Rhonda, I know you're human resources and you've obviously got a lot of knowledge in this. Have y'all talked about doing like a 360 evaluation where the folks that are in the office, I mean, when we're not in COVID, obviously, but the ones that work with Jay on a day in, day out basis, are they going to be involved in the evaluation as well, like a 360 type thing?
Not necessarily, and we've had that discussion before. We are such a small organization that the feedback would be pretty limited and specific based on each person's role and interaction with him. So as y'all know, his door is always open. He's always open to feedback, comments, and questions. If that's something that y'all think, y'all as our board, is really important to this process, we can certainly put more time into looking into that. But in talking to Jay and the finance committee, we didn't feel like that would be the most valuable, because like I said, his door is always open and he's open to comments and feedback from the staff.
Well, while you're trying to structure the questions, and just based on past experience with other organizations and boards or things, is it structuring the questions or the criteria, whatever that you're asking for feedback on, be real cognizant of the fact of, you know, is it a question that we, not being there every day, or being there so little time, that we really would have a knowledge of that? Because a lot of times that's what I've always run into is, you know, people can't make a judgment call. I mean, I can't make a judgment call on Jay's performance of doing something that we are not there able to observe. And Absolutely. The only way to get feedback on that is through one of those 360 deals you're talking about, you know. So that, I think it's just how you structure the instrument.
Yeah, your point is very well taken. And were you still talking? I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Your point is very well taken. And I think that's why the approach that we're probably going to use is more general, because his job is so varied. And, you know, I work with him every day, and there's no way I could nail down and pinpoint every single thing he does. So I think it will end up being more general. And cover like the important things as far as, you know, managing budget, managing an office of, you know, personnel and that sort of thing, and less specific to his day-to-day.
Bill, did you have something to add or a question?
Yeah, I think I'm the one that got this ball rolling, and it was because of my experience on the Catawba County Board of Health and the way the executive director of the Board of Health's annual review was done. And I liked the process, and I'm going to share it with you, how it went. So every year the assistant county manager who this guy reported to would come to the board, and he would send us a document, you know, to fill out. Lots of questions. I don't know if it's like the 360 or not. I'm not real familiar with that process, but basically he just solicited feedback, which we all provided, and then the assistant county manager just accumulated that and added his own comments and did some sort of rating. And in the county process, you know, that turned into a number, which turned into a dollar amount. And I'm hoping that, you know, we'll have a similar process with this, Rhonda. I just think the board members need an opportunity to formally give Jay feedback on what we think he does great and what we think he could improve on. I mean, that was my whole goal from A to Z.
Yeah, and that's definitely the plan. That's our goal, is to make sure that your voices are heard in the process, and we have allotted for that in the timeline. So hopefully, when we get to that point, you'll feel like you are able to give the feedback that you need to, and if not, we can accommodate what you need to share.
And I brought this all up to Jay. He said, I would love to have that feedback. Apparently he doesn't get it now. And,
Just a shout.
There's no formal process, I guess.
Right.
For getting it.
And just a shout out to Rhonda. She's been doing her research and reaching out to a lot of different organizations and getting, some high level stuff that is I am confident that Rhonda will get us an evaluation that will be perfect for Jay, and that it will give us what we need, and basically your ask, Bill.
Definitely. And I have to commend you all for making the suggestion, because it is important that everybody is given feedback on how they're doing and where they can improve. So I appreciate you all, putting this in motion. I think he'll find it really helpful.
Well, I think so too. The day may come where you have to justify to somebody why he's compensated the way he is. The day may come where it's not Jay Campbell, it's somebody else, and we have to prove why we need to get rid of him. So, I mean, anyway,
So Rhonda,
I think it's just good preventive management.
So Rhonda, what you need from us is an agreement that we are going to go with your timeline starting in April the 1st, where Michelle and I will be reviewing the evaluation. And then on April the 20th, we will review that completed evaluation with the full board. And this will all kind of go through May and June until June the 24th, when that will be where Jay, based off of our evaluations, will be awarded a bonus if we see fit.
Correct. Yeah.
It's not clear to me where the board's input is solicited.
So basically, April the 20th, we will be giving that evaluation to you guys so that you all can fill that out and get back to Rhonda. Is that correct, Rhonda?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to let us have input on the actual data collection tool? Or is that going to be?
We had kept that to finance committee, Bill, but if you have specifics, if you want to email that to me or Rhonda, we're happy to make sure.
I really don't. I guess there'll be a section for other, or, where if it's not specifically asked, that other information could be shared.
Oh, yeah. On the form, you mean?
Yes.
Like if you want to, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just, anything else you want to say, like.
Yep.
And y'all, I need y'all to understand too, I have no gripes with Jay. I am not out to get him or grind an axe or anything. I just think he deserves, the positive affirmation that's going to come from this board.
And I think that he fully understands that after personally speaking with him. And I think Rhonda shared that as well, that he's actually very happy that we're doing this.
Absolutely.
Well, and look, let's be honest. It's our responsibility as board members to do it. And somebody else could point the finger at us and say, you know what, you guys should have been doing that a long time ago. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to do it. I do think I still have this feeling that using a 360 evaluation, it could be really helpful for Jay. He could get some really positive evaluation comments from the people that work with him in the office. And I just don't want us to shortchange him. I mean, we have significantly less time with him on a day in, week out, month out basis. So as you're putting this tool together, if there's some way that the staff, and there's so many of them, could have an opportunity to say how they feel about Jay and working with Jay, I think that could only be helpful to him. I don't anticipate anything but positive, but you never know. So
there may be people working there that are intimidated by him or not comfortable coming to him. And I think that'd be useful information. I don't know the 360 thing, but it sounds like I'm getting more I'm getting the gist of it.
Well, we can definitely take that into consideration as we get through the process, for sure.
And I think that we're just at the beginning of this, so
Right.
this may evolve over the next couple years, but I think, I feel like Ron is going to get us a good starting point. And then, of
Yep.
course, if we need to make that process better, then we can always do that year after year.
Yeah, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So is everybody good with this timeline? All right, I'm seeing thumbs up, nods, Bill.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm trying to, so the fiscal year starts over in July.
Yeah,
So this
July
makes
1st.
perfect sense. That's why it's done in June. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And
Ron.
it's on the same timeline as the rest of the staff, which I think is also helpful, just to make it, to be honest, a little easier for everybody if we're all on the same schedule.
It's not cramming too much into a small time frame.
I think we can get it done, and I'm in full agreement that this is really important.
And you're seeing some good best practices among other boards.
Well, so far, but again, that's all dependent on their boards and what their priorities are. So what my goal is to take the best of what they offer and put that together with what we can do for Jay.
Well, thank you for taking it on.
Yep.
All right, Rhonda, it sounds like we're good to go with that.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Rhonda. So
Thanks,
Clint,
Rhonda.
do I need to get a motion to close?
You do.
Motion.
All right, Andy, motion for us to close.
Second.
Look at that. Oh, Michelle, I'm going to take your second. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, we got to do a roll call.
Aye. Keith says aye. Michelle says aye. Andy says aye. Bill? Aye. Wallace?
Ah.
Aye. All right, and I as well. So thanks, everybody. It was a good day. We are officially done.
We got a lot done.
Yeah, we did.
Bye, guys. Stay
Good
warm.
to see
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Good to
Take
see
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.